Hey everyone, welcome to AFC Game by Game. Doing a Google Hangout. Haven't done one in some time, but this evening at 10:22 p.m, starting a little bit later than I said we would, I'm joined by Ali. If you don't know him, you should. Did a Google Hangout with him before. But Ali, introduce yourself.
Yo, what's good? My what's it called? My camera is a bit fuzzy because I can't be arsed to get my actual camera and connect it. But this will do for now. If you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Ali Arsenal. And yeah, I'm just an Arsenal fan supporting from Canada. So yeah, what's good?
Bit disappointing on the camera front. I can't tell a lie. You've let the team down on that side of
I
things.
know.
But we're not here to look at our pretty faces. We're here to talk about Arsenal. And let's start off with the most recent thing, which today was the Champions League draw. What do you make of who we've got in the group stage? We've got Bayern Munich, Dynamo Zagreb. I think I've said that right. Zagreb. I didn't say it right. And Olympiacos. Should go through comfortably in a second place, possibly first if we can get something against Bayern Munich. I mean, what are your thoughts on that group? Do you think it's a good group, bad group?
I think it's sort of like my webcam quality. It's kind of shit because we get the same shit every single year. What's it called? I mean, I don't know. Like the second they played the Almunia blunder on the big screen, I just knew it was gonna be a draw. Getting Bayern Munich in the group stage kind of day. We got the two teams that we always get because who needs new experiences and new teams and new grounds and new countries to go to? We don't need that shit. Let's just get the same teams every single year. Probably gonna get second place. Get knocked out by Barcelona, Real Madrid next group. Next stage, and rinse and repeat. Good stuff. At least like you and I both know we're sort of expecting the same thing. It's so at least on that front, it's gonna save us some trouble, some tension, because we know exactly how the next few months will pan out in terms of Champions League. So we can just focus on the Premier League, which will give us a lot more troubles this year because every single club is so rich for some reason now. So yeah, I mean, I think it's just whatever. Like I'm not really expecting anything. We're probably gonna go through to the next round and get knocked out. Good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not confident in the Champions League at all. I don't think we're going to win it. And honestly, I would be surprised if we made it any further than, I'm going to be ambitious and I'm going to say the quarterfinals. But I mean, the last 16, I think we can definitely get there in a comfortable second place. Zagreb and
yeah, the good thing is that there's one group in the Champions League that's complete shite. It's just really bad teams. I forget who was in there. I think it was not Astana. I think it was the team with the group with Valencia in it. That group is just if we progress to the next round and we luck out like we lucked out last year with Monaco and then we fucked it up.
Don't speak too soon.
hopefully that we have.
Yeah, in a way, though, I think I'd quite like to have someone like Real Madrid or Barcelona in the last 16. I think the reason why we haven't done so well previously, especially against Monaco, is because we haven't been so motivated for the games. I think no excuses against the Bayern Munich, but we've got a stronger squad now. In the game against Monaco, when we lost 3-1 at the Emirates, that was definitely an arrogance thing, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And now that we've got a stronger squad, I hope the mentality's changed by that point. But so far this season, that hasn't really been evidenced. I'd hope that we can go into that game. Yep, go on.
Talk about that in your video that you put out. What needs to change at Arsenal?
What, the mentality thing or the Monaco game? I spoke a little bit about it, but I don't really know where you'd start with it, to be honest. Like, you could do a whole in-depth documentary on it. I don't know where you'd start. But the thing that worries me about the Champions League is September and the fixtures that we've got. And I've got them up here. We've got Stoke at home, which, although I know it looks like an easy game on paper, I think given that they've got Shaqiri, Van Ginkel, Afellay, even John Walters in their team, that's not going to be an easy game. And then away from home, we've got Zagreb. And then away from home, we've got Chelsea. Then away from home, you've got Spurs in the Cup. Whether it's the Capital One Cup or not, you don't want to lose that game. Then away from home, we've got Leicester, who have been rampant this season. And then we've got Olympiacos at home. And then we've got Man United at home. So that's kind of a make or break 6 weeks for us.
Pretty easy, IMO. Yeah, it reminds me of a couple of seasons ago when we had that one period of like every single difficult game put together, and I actually put out a video back then. Why, like it was titled "Why It's Not as Bad as It Seems,"
Was
and
that
it
when
was
we
as
lost to
bad as it seemed.
Blackburn, Bradford,
Um,
and Bayern? Was it
it
then?
was no. It was the season in which we started off by losing 3-1 to Aston Villa.
Oh yeah. When we had Bayern and
Yes,
at Chelsea in the space of the same month.
yes,
Yeah, I
it
think we can get
reminds me
through
of that.
September, but it's just because that we started the season so haphazardly, and that's happened in so many previous years. That's what concerns me because
Same old.
we could be out of every single competition by October rather than February, which I'm kind of hoping we won't be. But anyway, um, that's the Champions League spoken about, and just on a pinpoint, are we going to make it through to the last 16?
Um, the last 16. Um, no. Actually, okay.
You don't think we'll make it through the group?
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I think no, our group's so like it's decided already. Like the form, the place in which they actually put the graphics in Bayern Munich, Arsenal, Olympiacos, and the Zagreb. I think that's how it's gonna finish. Like there's no one to challenge us for the second spot. So I think we're obviously gonna go through. Hopefully we get like a winner from like the shit groups in the Champions League.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the Champions League spoken about. Obviously, loads of positivity going into our Europe run. But let's talk about Monday night, the 0-0 draw with Liverpool, and whether it was a game that we can take positives or negatives from, or pretty much just both. I don't really know why I'm saying that because it was just such a disappointing game in the end.
I actually
Not
thought it was
scoring
a really entertaining game, though.
it was an entertaining game. I mean, it was like Coutinho and Benteke could have put Liverpool 2-0 up in the first 3 minutes or whatever. But from an Arsenal perspective, that's not really what you want to see going into the new season. I think you've got to give credit to Liverpool, though. I thought Liverpool were absolutely fantastic in the game. It's
They
just,
did they did what we did after the 5-1 when we went back to their place the next season and we got a 2-2. And they got smacked at our place 4-1, and then they came back with a bit more, about them. Like they did the same thing that we did last season.
do you think Liverpool are going to get a top 4 finish then?
Nah, let's be honest now. There's no.
I think we're 3 games in, and I think that was Liverpool's best performance. I would say I watched the game against Bournemouth. I watched the game against Stoke, and they weren't anything special in those games.
Exactly.
So
I think like Sky Sports actually did a graphic about it too. Like if the offside rule didn't rule in their favor 2 games in a row, they would be like 10th or 11th or something like that. So it's not like they've been playing amazing or they're good at the back. Like I'll give them that, but they're not like anything special.
yeah, I mean, you say they're good at the back, but you got to remember that's Dejan Lovren they've got at the back. And it was actually Lucas Leiva that was kind of bossing the midfield for them, who's going to come out of the dark recently. So I think it was more us being bad that made them look good. I mean, what do you think went wrong with Arsenal on Monday night which made Liverpool look so good and which made us look so crap?
It was okay. So I predicted a 2-2 before the game, like a week before the game, and that's really what the scoreline should have been. I think our finishing, our what was it like we could have had 2 or 3 goals ourselves. They could have had 2 or 3 goals. Because Coutinho shot the post like 2 times, and then Benteke really should have like buried that. 32 million pounds for a striker. You should have put that in. So it really could have been 2-2 easily. But for some reason we're just not scoring at home. Is our home drought longer than Rooney's goal drought at this point?
No, Rooney's goal drought was longer, but we failed to score in 5 out of 6 games, and that's still going on. I mean, the last time we scored at home was in the West Brom game last season when we beat them 4-1.
Yeah. That's ridiculous. Okay, yeah. So what went wrong for us? The offside goal. I felt like we were just like completely deflated after that offside goal. And then in the halftime, I felt like Arsene Wenger just like he told them like what's wrong with you people? You guys are acting like like how Ozil acted after he missed the penalty against Bayern Munich, and he just had a completely shite game after that. That's what we were playing like after we got the offside goal, and then but in the second half we were so much better. But again, finishing, we just can't finish at home right now.
Yeah, I mean, it was concerning that Liverpool game, the amount of chances that Liverpool had a lot of chances themselves, which they could have put in the back of the net. But equally, we had our fair share of chances, like the Sanchez one where he hit the post, and the chance that Giroud had as well, which, watching that back on the replay, he really should have put in the back of the net. But unfortunately, wasn't to be. Do you think a point's a good result? I mean, given how Liverpool played and given how bad we were, and given that it's this early in the season, we're on 4 points out of 9, which doesn't look great. But I mean, imagine if we'd have lost the game. Imagine how bad that would have been.
No, it wasn't a good result. It was a fucking shit result.
Yeah, but let's not forget, this is Liverpool. I mean, I say that in a weird way. I mean, is this Liverpool in a good way?
Against Liverpool, though, that's the thing. We're good against Liverpool. They've beaten us twice in the last, I don't even know how long. And this was apparently the first 0-0 in this century, like between these two teams. So it's not like just because we didn't play well, like that doesn't really mean much. And also, given the context, we've lost already once in 3 games. We've drawn once and we've only won one. So we needed to win that, especially because if I were asked between Anfield and the Emirates, which place are we more likely to pick up 3 points? I'd say the Emirates, and we didn't do that. So I can't say that it's a point picked up. I think we've dropped 2.
And would you say the reason that we put in the performance that we did, where it was a pretty poor performance in the first half especially, do you think that's a mentality thing, or do you think it's just that simply we're not good enough yet?
No, I think we have an amazing squad. I think we have one of the best squads. The only squad to really rival Chelsea's for the next few years. I'm not talking about just this year, because apparently, obviously Man City are the best performance-wise this year. But I think squad-wise, we have amazing players, and that's one of the reasons why we can't just go and buy just random players.
Why aren't they playing well though? Because we bought on 130 grand a week Walcott, who had no impact in the game whatsoever.
Yeah.
Ramsey didn't do very much. I mean, Özil, he's very good at passing, but he didn't really change the game in any way. He didn't overtake the game. Sanchez, I'll excuse him for match fitness, I suppose. But, I mean, this is a team that are meant to be a very, very good players. As Arsenal fans, we rate our players extremely highly and expect the best from them. But when they play as a team, they're not working. And I personally think the main reason for that is simply because we're playing one player out of position and it disrupts the whole balance of the team. And that's Ramsey on the right, when we should be playing someone like Chamberlain or even Walcott there. I'd be more than happy if one of those two started the game against Newcastle, and I think we'd play a million times better. But would you say that is the reason? Because I mean, a lot of people compare this Arsenal.
I think that's a good point, because Wenger tries to accommodate every single good player into one team, and he shouldn't do that. But he starts playing Ramsey on the right, which we have more effective players on the right, but he wants the best. It's like when on FIFA. Right, you just want every single top overall player in your team, but in real life it doesn't work like that. You have to play players who know how to make that position work, which at the moment, Ramsey is not a right winger at all.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about what would I would regard as one of our best performances last season, Man City away, where we won 2-0. We actually started that game with Chamberlain and Sanchez on the flanks. Yeah. And Ramsey playing in the middle with Coquelin and Cazorla playing in the hole. So, I mean, surely that is evidence enough that was our most balanced performance, I would say. That's where the team looked so good going forward. Everyone knew where they had to be and everyone put in a really good shift. So, I mean, surely that's got to be enough for Wenger to know going into the future, that's what we've got to play, because he's too loyal to certain players. And I do worry a little bit about when Wilshere comes back, because then he's got to try and fit Wilshere, Özil, Cazorla, Ramsey into the same 11, and he's going to do it.
Yeah, he's going to do it. It's all lightweight, little players, and the one big tackler is out on the wings, in Ramsey. He's the one guy who gets stuck in, and he's on the wings. You know, so then and also for some reason like Coquelin and Ramsey doesn't work in the middle because Ramsey just deserts Coquelin, and usually when Cazorla plays next to him, he's always there to take the ball off him whenever he wins it back. So I think that's another like thing about Arsenal that isn't working out.
Yeah, one other thing I want to discuss is if you watch Monday Night Football on Sky Sports, then shortly after the game, Gary Neville, Thierry Henry, Jamie Carragher, etc., straight to criticising Arsenal and saying that we needed to get a powerhouse in midfield. That's the word that's so heavily used by all these Sky pundits. Someone like Vieira, someone like Petit, someone like Schneiderlin. Although they do bring that up a lot, do you think that's the answer to our problems? Because I don't really see United having a powerhouse. Schneiderlin isn't, in my opinion, isn't a powerhouse type of player like Vieira or Petit was. Chelsea have got someone like Matic, who is big, he's bulky, he puts a tackle in, but he was awful in the game against West Brom, and quite frankly hasn't been that great this season. Coquelin's had a better season so far than him. And then you've got City, who have got Toure and Fernandinho, who, you know, are powerhouses, quite frankly. So would you say that's where things are going wrong, that we can't overtake a midfield because we haven't got big enough players?
No.
Okay.
Okay. No, listen. It's so easy to resort to, oh, they need a powerhouse. Yeah, that's what they need. I mean, I feel like more than anything else, it's a mentality problem. That's it. I mean, we, you know, like what's it called? We have players who are, I mean, Cazorla is one of the best passers in the league. Ozil is one of the best, you know, in terms of assists and all that, playmakers in the league. We have some of like the best wing players. Coquelin is an amazing tackler. You know, Koscielny, we regard him as world class because that's how highly you would think of him, especially paired up with Mertesacker. Those two are amazing together. And then we have Czech at the back. We have the team. We just don't have the mentality. They, you know, like the one overused term that I would actually agree with is fragile, because we don't, you know, we get carried away. We make, you know, senseless mistakes.
I think the problem is that when we concede, we really wilt. We go into our shell a little bit, and we're like a little kid that's just been told off.
Yeah, we don't take responsibility. I think like Ozil and like someone said Ozil and Sanchez aren't taking responsibility. That's bullshit. I think the team isn't taking responsibility.
Yeah, I mean, I want to ask you something. If we were to go 1-0 down on Saturday, how likely do you think it would be that we'd come back and win that game 3-1?
Okay, so Newcastle is one of the teams that I always look forward to playing because they're absolutely dog shit. If we go 1-0 behind against Newcastle, I think we can still hit them back just because it's Newcastle. I mean, but recently our record hasn't been good. Once we go 1-0 down, we usually don't get anything from the game.
I mean, the thing that worries me going into the Newcastle game is if we are to start with Ramsey on the right-hand side and Newcastle play the exact same as they did against Man United at the weekend, then we're not going to score a goal, because that's a very resolute way of defending from Newcastle. And
Manchester United were actually pretty good that game. Like, I don't know how they didn't score.
Yeah, I'd say they good. They played good football, and it was a bit like us in the second half against Liverpool. They look good with no end products, and they do what we're guilty of at times, which is just dilly-dallying around the box. And that's what really annoys me going into games like this, is that we're going to be. I can predict us to play really good, pretty football in like our own half for about 15-20 minutes, and then we'll have a pop shot and it'll get headed away by Colaccini. That's what worries me going into the game, and it's just that we're so predictable, defend against us with two banks of four, and the one thing is that we've got no player in that team who'll drive our defences if we don't start Oxlade-Chamberlain. I mean, we're on the topic of Newcastle now, so going into the game on Saturday lunchtime, what team do you want to see starting the game?
I want to see, Alexis is a must, obviously, for pressing. I think Koscielny and Mertesacker are both not going to be fit.
No, talking about that just quickly, I think Gabriel warrants a place in the team anyway because of the way he played against Liverpool.
So good. He's really good. I think he's going to be a key replacement for Koscielny once he's out.
Yeah, and Mertesacker is the one who's more likely to miss the game, quoted by Wenger, if Koscielny's back. So we're going to have either a partnership of Koscielny and Gabriel, or Gabriel and Chambers again. And before everyone starts criticising Chambers, I honestly think that I think that game against Liverpool, I don't think that reflects Chambers as a complete player. I think too many people are judging him on just that one game, because I think so many people forget when he was even younger, when he was playing against Crystal Palace at the start of last season, he was arguably man of the match in that game. The performance he put in the Community Shield last season when we beat City 3-0. So I don't think everyone can call him dog shite on that performance. I think there's a lot more to come from James. He's 20 years old.
That's exactly right. I mean, he had one of the worst performances I've ever seen from a professional football player, because he kept giving away the ball like really stupidly. But he's an amazing player. Like for his age, especially, he hasn't had a lot of game time. He's been out of action since like halfway through last season, and then he's been put into a game of this magnitude against Liverpool at home, with Gabriel, who he's never played with. So and he's a kid, so you can't be too harsh on him. That being said, that performance was like one of the worst things I've ever seen. But if he starts again with Gabriel against Newcastle, especially, I think he's going to put in a good performance, because I believe in that kid.
I mean, what I would say about that is, you got to remember that, like you mentioned it yourself, Chambers didn't play for the second half of last season at all, and he was put in front of Cech, who he's never played with before, and that's a massive difference, having Cech in front of him, behind you, should I say, and then having Gabriel and Bellerin, etc., who he's never really had a proper opportunity to play with. I mean, he hasn't even played with Bellerin before, because he was being played at right back last season. So it's a completely different setup for Chambers, and I do think if he adjusts well, if he is training fully with it, I mean, you've got to remember as well, another thing people don't take into account is that he won't have trained in that kind of regimen before the game either, in the week before.
Oh, yeah.
You'd think going into this game against Newcastle, he'd get to know his counterparts that little bit more and hopefully put in a better performance. And the one thing that I will say about Chambers is, which you can't excuse, is just his passing ability. His passing range was absolute garbage. Like, he was panicking at times. His tackling is decent. It's just his passing that he gives it to players. He panics and he does just downright look nervous at the time. But, I mean, as you were, your team lineup, I'll leave you to carry on with it. What were you going to say?
All right, so Ospina and I'm kidding, Cech in net, and then Bellerin, right back, Nacho Monreal, left back. If those two aren't fit, then obviously Gabriel, Chambers. All right, so that's sorted. Then in the middle, obviously Coquelin is a must. Next to him, I want Cazorla. I think we should drop Ramsey. Put Ox and Alexis on the wings, obviously Ozil in the middle, and Walcott up front.
I'm going to disagree with you there in a few places. I actually think we should drop Cazorla and put Ramsey in the middle, because Cazorla hasn't been that good this season, I don't think. I think he needs to come under the radar, and I think he's becoming a little bit concerned. His passing as well was almost just as bad as Chambers on Monday. I think you've got to remember his age as well. I mean, he's like 31 now.
Yeah, so that's why he can't really do the running and all that stuff. That's why he has to be there to start the playoff, which Ramsey is never there for Coquelin. Once he wins the ball, he has to do it himself. Ramsey is always like somewhere else, because he's always given a free roll. But with Cazorla, he's always there to like lend a hand and actually start the playoff instead of Coquelin having to do it.
I honestly think that if you put Ramsey in that central midfield role, you'd see a lot more from him, because I think the only reason that he's got that free role is because he's being played on that right-hand side where he's not the most disciplined. And I think Wenger knows he's not going to be disciplined in that area. And you also mentioned starting Walcott up top. In a game at Newcastle against the likes of Colaccini and even Mike Williamson, given how bad he is.
I think they're garbage at the back, especially because they're playing at home. They're going to be like, their fans are going to expect to see them attack at least a bit. And Colaccini, if you listen to Newcastle fans, they don't even regard him as a Premier League player. He's so bad. And also, come on, like Walcott is on 140K a week. He's one of our top.
Yeah, but so is Giroud.
Giroud isn't on 140K a week, is he?
He's on like 130, something like that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
They got a new contract.
And also, Giroud does have a good record against Newcastle.
Yeah, I mean, I would 100% start Giroud holding up the play, and then have the likes of Chamberlain and Sanchez running off him. I think the idea of Walcott, Sanchez, Chamberlain is just mouth-watering, but I don't think it's going to work personally. I think Walcott will not be able to hold the ball up. He'll get in behind, but there's no tall figure up there to be a presence. I mean, what are we going to do at corners? I mean, that would just be pointless, I think. So,
Also, oh yeah, also if Mertesacker is out too, then
yeah, it's pretty. We've got no height whatsoever. But I mean, score predictions for the Newcastle game. How do you think it's going to? How do you think it's going to pan out?
I think it's gonna be a 1-0 tight.
I would like some.
1-0.
I'd like something a bit more convincing than a 1-0. We haven't had a good performance yet, I don't think. Even that game against Palace wasn't the best. I mean, if we could come away with 2 or 3-0 win, which I'm being overly ambitious, I think, but just something
Is that your
that's
prediction?
no.
What's your
I think,
prediction?
I think we'll concede. I think I'm going to go for a 2-1. I think it'll be similar to the Palace game. I think no matter how bad Newcastle are, I still think they'll find a way. We'll make sure that they play well against us. I'm pretty certain of that. But anyway, let's move on from the game against Newcastle because I think that's enough of that. Anyway, I'll have a preview out for it tomorrow anyway, hopefully.
Right.
But yeah, let's talk about transfers. Obviously, it's the 27th of August. In an hour or so, going to be the 28th of August. And there's about 3-4 days of the transfer window left. We've obviously only bought in Petr Cech. How do you feel going into this last stretch of the transfer window? Do you honestly think we're going to bring in a world-class talent?
I think Wenger's strategy is a good one. I really do. Like I don't. Before the window even started, I've always been of the opinion that we don't need more firepower. That's not the reason why we're not winning, titles. We don't need another striker. We don't need, another winger. We don't need any of that. What we need is a mentality change at the back. That's it. Because it doesn't matter how many goals you add to your game. If you keep canceling them out by stupid mistakes at the back, it's not going to matter who you bring in. I think if anything, yeah, we will get a world-class player, if any player, because that's the way to go. I think our squad is so good that we can't invest in another squad player. We can only get players who will push our current first-team players out of their place and put them on the bench. That's the sort of caliber that we can afford right now in terms of quantity-wise. So I think Wenger's strategy is a good one. If we do get someone, it'll be world-class. I don't think we're going to go for B-grade players.
Yeah, I mean, I think people forget that at this time of the window, practically anything can crop up any day, any minute, any hour, anywhere. And do you think that we're going to get that that striker in that I think so many people crave? I personally, we won't. I think that's the easiest thing for me to say at this moment in time because there's no one out there. Benzema's pretty much confirmed he's not staying. I don't really want someone like Cavani.
But Emmanuel Giagini said that we're signing him, though.
Oh, God. But I just can't be bothered with all these in-the-know people. It's just it bores the hell out of me sometimes. I just want to wait and see what happens, really. But I don't think we'll sign a striker. I think, if anything, we'll sign a central defensive midfielder. And I think that'll be practically it.
The thing with that is I don't understand why we didn't go in for Kondogbia because he is good enough to step in and he is shit enough to stay on.
And he's a powerhouse.
And he's a powerhouse. I don't understand why we did not go for Kondogbia. He's like the perfect player who we need, who would be willing to sit on the bench, and when he comes on, he's a powerhouse. So, I mean, he's gone, and yeah, I don't think we're going to go for many new players.
I mean, the player I'd like is Bender, Lars Bender. I think he'd be a really good addition to the squad, someone that would push Coughlin and someone that can sit alongside him in games against like United, City, Chelsea. I definitely think he'd be a good addition to the squad and someone that's actually better than Schneiderlin. You could argue, I don't want to rustle any United fans, but yeah, I mean, I hate talking about the transfer window, to be honest. That's why I stopped doing videos on my channel about it, because practically everything you say is wrong and you can't predict anything and you just talk a load of crap half the time. So this is like where it gets so tight at this point in the window because there's so few names out there. You don't know what's going to happen, and it's all down to chance, really. I mean, if you had to pick one or two players that you'd like to see Arsenal bring in this time, who would you go for?
Okay, so I think I'd like to see a substitute defensive midfielder. That's it. I don't want to, if it's a world-class striker like Benzema, fine, that's fine. But I don't think we need another like Strike Force edition. We have Welbeck, who we just bought for 16 million. I don't know if he's lost in the treatment room, but he hasn't come out since he went in. Yeah, so I think just a defensive midfielder addition who's first team quality, but at the same time he wouldn't mind sitting on the bench. But I don't know who that player is again.
Yeah, I think just a matter of waiting and seeing with that.
I could say Bender, but there's been no reports about Bender, and it's pretty unlikely. We've been linked to him for every single transfer.
I think the reason there have been no reports is just more of a reason to believe that he could be coming to us.
Well, then you could say the same for Benzema. Maybe that could be a smokescreen. I don't know.
I'm not going to believe that. I never thought Benzema was going to happen. It obviously isn't going to happen. Let's just get on with our lives and stop going on about it. Some people lived around that rumor.
Nagini, though. Reliable ITK. Okay,
so pretty much discussed the Liverpool game, the Newcastle game, transfers, the Champions League draw. And now it's time to hear from you guys. We've got a few questions in. I hope you're excited for these as much as I am, Ali, because they're going to be great. First off, we've got at Jack Mella, who's tweeted in. Thanks for your question, Jack. Do appreciate that. It says, what needs to change for a club attitude towards games, both small and big?
I think we need to take responsibility. I think it's sort of, I'm not saying that the players don't want to do well. Obviously they do, but I feel like they don't exactly beat themselves over it. Like if they lose a game, it's more of a, oh my God, this shit again. It's not like, wow, we're missing our chance again. We have to put this straight. I think it's a mentality change is more important than any signing that we can hope for.
Yeah, I mean, we've got I would argue that we've not really got any real leaders in the squad at the moment. I think Mertesacker looks like a decent leader off the pitch, but on the pitch he doesn't really come across that way. Apart from that time he shouted at Ozil and everyone just went mental. But that was a great day.
I mean, like someone, and I know, like I probably shouldn't say his name, but Van Persie is the type of person who takes responsibility when you're losing a game. We don't have that type of a killer instinct player.
Yeah, I suppose I know what you mean. I think Ramsey did it kind of well in the game against Liverpool. I don't think he overly took responsibility, but there was a moment in the game where he actually thought, I'm going to try something different, and he drove at the defence.
With him, the thing is, like when he starts trying, people start saying that, oh, look, he's doing that thing again where he tries too hard, right? Like what do you want from him? Do you want him to try to score goals or not?
Yeah, and Jack also mentioned the mentality going into the small games. I mean, do you think that needs to be changed a bit? Do you think we're maybe a bit arrogant at times?
Only in the Champions League, only in cup competitions, not in the Premier League, because we're one of the small team bullies in the league, and because that's our primary source of points. So I think we understand that, and when we understand it, we do well, like how we do well in the league. But obviously in cup competitions, thankfully in terms of the FA Cup, we're starting to turn it around, where we take every single team very seriously, just because now that's our sort of cup. Hopefully I didn't jinx it for this year, but and then Capital One Cup, I mean, we're playing another small team.
I don't care about the Capital One Cup. It's just I want us to beat Spurs, and I don't really care what happens. That's pretty much it.
But then people will again say that, oh, it's that we were arrogant and all that stuff.
It's the Capital One Cup.
I guess, but I mean, look, we're not going to drop many points against small teams in the league. if you don't care about the Capital One Cup, then we only have the FA Cup, which we started to put right. Then all we're left with is the Champions League, where again there aren't many small teams. We will only probably come across one or two small teams in there. So we're not really talking about the problem.
All right, I think we just got to take each day as it comes. Really, this season, maybe if we could win the Capital One Cup, that would be a successful season.
Yeah.
Who knows? Who am I to say that? But let's go on to the next question from at Alexinate_. Thanks for your question at Alexinate_. When Wilshere and Welbeck come back, do they come back? And if so, where do they play?
Do they come back at all?
Who knows? I don't know. I don't want to.
You just don't know with Welbeck. He just keeps having setback after setback. Apparently,
it's been like 4 months he's been out now as well.
I know, and it's a freaking growing inflammation. I don't even know what he's out with. I think they just like forgotten about him. He's somewhere in the basement, and they just they're looking for new strikers again for some reason. We splashed 16 million on him, and he's been out for like half a year. He doesn't come back into the side. Welbeck is one of the weird players who only plays in big games because of his work.
He's a workhorse. He's a workhorse.
Yeah. But I don't think he comes.
I'll be honest though, I do like Welbeck as a player. I don't think he's a good goal scorer by any means. I don't think he's good in front of goal. I just like how he plays.
Yeah, before he signed for us, obviously I watched him play for United and England, and I always used to think that this guy, he has something about him. Like he always makes things happen. And
I wanted to hate him when he was at United. I wanted to hate him, but deep down, I'll say I did rate him a little. I'm pretty sure every United fan will disagree with me and say that I'm lying, but I rated him.
It's because like those couple vines and those couple memes that just like showcases hilariously bad decisions, that everyone thinks that he's like a flop, but he's not. He's actually a really good player.
He's not a flop. He's got a really good goal record for England. He's still youngish.
Yeah.
And he works really hard. I think you got to remember that.
To answer the question, I don't think he's going to come back into the side, and the same with Wilshere. I just don't know who you're going to.
Yeah, but the thing is, what I'll say about Wilshere is he is one of Wenger's favourites. So I think he will come back into the squad.
Well, our whole side is filled with favourites, so maybe Cazorla will be dropped if he keeps.
Yeah, I think Cazorla will be the one who gets the hook, to be honest, and I think we'll see Wilshere play on the right with Ramsey in the middle, like similar to how we did sometimes last season.
That would actually be really good because
I think that would work a little bit as well because you've got Wilshere who'll drive.
Yeah, the deep lying midfielder, which he plays so well for England, that could work.
Oh, I don't know. It all remains to be seen on that one. But final question from my friend Nick comes in and says, would you rather eat a whole lemon or a whole lime? You can go first on that one.
What's the difference between the two?
You never had a lemon or a lime?
Is a lime green and a lemon is yellow?
A lime's a green one and the lemon's the yellow one.
Oh, I'd rather have a lemon because I put that shit on everything anyway.
Yeah, see, I've never really had a lime properly. I've never eaten one, so I think I'd go for a lemon as well. And I quite like lemons.
Also, this is so friggin' sour. It feels like someone put, it is iced tea with lemon.
Anyway, let's get away from the beverage discussion because we're here to talk football. We're here to talk football. I've got a few more. I'm not sure if they're questions or if someone just bombarding me with tweets, but I got a few from Paul Tisa, who I'm not sure if he wants them read out or not, but might as well. I think we will do Bayern this year. They lost Cruz, who absolutely destroyed us the other year, and he's also said we still need another DM and centre back, and we need to replace Perez. What are your thoughts on that, Ali?
No, I don't think we need to buy 3 more players. I think again, it's a mentality change. That's all I'm going to say. I don't think we need signings. And then, wait, what was his first part of the tweet? The Bayern Munich thing?
I think we would do Bayern this year. They lost Cruz, who absolutely destroyed us the other year.
Well, everyone keeps saying that, we're unbeaten at the Allianz Arena. I think if they mess up at our place, then they're going to do the job. at their place. That's the only reason why we've been unbeaten at their place, because they don't really need to do much there.
I'll be honest, I would quite happily take a point or 2 points if we're lucky against Bayern. I know that's like such a poor mentality going into the game, but if we're going to be realistic, I would like 2 points. It'd be nice to come out of the Emirates after the game against Bayern with like a 1-1 draw or something, having scored in the 93rd minute to level it back up for us, that is. But I mean, that would leave me feeling a bit good about things. And if we got a draw at their place, that'd do. But obviously, I want us to win. I'd hope we win. But
yeah.
I think Bayern are actually beatable this year as well. I'll say that. I think they could be beaten.
I don't know about that because.
Have you not seen how they play in the Bundesliga? They've been pretty. They destroyed their first game, but the second one they were pretty bang average.
Okay, but like they're that team who plays on amateur difficulty and then just does the most amount of fucked up shit that they can do just to see if they can win the game. That's them in the Bundesliga. Who have they lost? They've lost Schweinsteiger, who they barely.
I don't think that's a massive loss to them anyway.
Yeah, that's not a big loss to them. Who else have they lost?
Well, Gertz kind of stopped playing for him.
I know, but they have him though. I don't think
they've got an undoubtedly quality squad and a quality manager as well. So I'm not going to question them for a minute. They'll probably do us.
I mean, it would be great to not lose. I'm just going to say that.
Yeah, I mean, it would be great just for morale purposes as well. Like, just knowing that we haven't lost the Bayern. But anyway, I think we'll wrap it up there. We've discussed Liverpool, we've discussed Newcastle, we've discussed Champions League draw, and we've brushed on transfers. Yeah, as you can see, both of us are clearly a representation for all Arsenal fans, and I hope we're a bit more level-headed than the likes of Claude and Ty in this discussion, debate, whatever you want to call it.
We could be Claude and Ty.
We could be the new ones. We could be the ones with like an actual decent opinion. But that's not a dig at Claude or Ty. They're obviously very good at what they do. But anyway, that's been this Hangout. I hope you've enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more stuff like this. I'll try and get more of these up with Ali as soon as possible. Hopefully we can get something sorted after the Newcastle game. Ali, are you up for that?
Of course.
He's got a thumbs up there. So hopefully we'll be doing another one of these Saturday, Sunday, that kind of time, discussing all things Arsenal about the Newcastle game, all things Arsenal about the Newcastle game. But anyway, guys, thank you very much for watching. Ali, if you just want to sign off once more, give everyone a big howdy. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.